Hello everybody and welcome to the stream where I will be recording an episode of The Private Citizen a day late. I was supposed to do this yesterday. Couldn't get it done. And just wanted to go online and I had like this sneezing attack from hell. So I think it means I'm soon gonna have to take drugs for the hay fever again. I was enjoying it. Like it was so cold. I think it was the cold. It must have been the cold. I mean, grass likes rain, right? It was raining and cold. And it must have been the cold that, like, normally I would be like a month into allergy hell right now, but it's only starting now. So I guess gotta be lucky that I've been kept from it so far. Hello everybody, how are you all doing? This is the taco stream. Ezekiel, I'm gonna do taco streams again. I was busy. Like Jonathan is on my ass as well. He's just like, taco's gonna wipe. We need to play. I really want to. We'll see. I was hoping this week was gonna. It's always like last week. I was like, this week is gonna be more chill. I can do more of that stuff, and of course that didn't happen. It's the complete opposite. I didn't even get like the podcast done yesterday. So, That's all coming back. I'll make it happen by force if I have to. Anyway, we're here to record Private Citizen. Let me just get the disclaimer out of the way, so I won't be engaging in chat as much as I do when I play Tarkov, for example. Right, let's set this all up. I think this all works. Why is that? Oh, I'm just zoomed out all the way. Hello. One of these days I'll fly to the moon. One of these days, da, 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 da. One of these days. Gotta get me some pedal steel. Unfortunately, my wife hates this instrument. I love it. It's so lovely. Why is that? Oh, I'm just zoomed out all the way. Gotta get me some pedal steel. Lovely. Unfortunately, lovely. That seems to work. So let's get this thing on the road. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about the Cloudflare Zero Trust browser, which is something a listener mentioned I should look into, and I did. And it's crap. So I wanna talk about that. Right? Shall we get right into it? Let's do this. Got some tea in me, so I won't fall asleep. And let's do this. Let's do this. Is it built on the blockchain? I don't think it is, but it might as well be. It's so crap. Anyway, I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let's get this show. Let's get this show rolling, shall we? You're listening to The Private Citizen, defending your right to have something to hide. This is episode blah, 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 blah. This is episode take 2. That's what it is. It's episode I can't fucking talk. Let's rewind. Let's rewind the tape. We can do this again. Let's rewind the tape, Mr. Bond. I have something special planned for you. You're listening. Oh God. Fucked up that. What's wrong with me today? Why is this so bad? Why do I feel like I haven't? I did this like last week. It's only like one day longer. That day like threw me off. Can't be skipping days. This is not good. You're listening to The Private Citizen, defending your right to have something to hide. This is episode 71 for Twitter. What is it? Why can't I do this? What is wrong with me? Third time's the charm. No, it's not. No, it's not. I suck. Oh my God. Hasn't been this bad in like ages. Jesus Christ. Okay, let's do it this time, shall we? This time you can do it. Let's do this. You're listening to The Private Citizen, defending your right to have something to hide. This is episode 71 for Thursday, the 27th of May, 2021. Zero trust? My ass. Hello everybody, welcome to The Private Citizen. My name is Fab, I'm your host. I'm coming to you live from the returning from lockdown city of Düsseldorf in Germany. How are you doing? Nice to have you on the show. Tonight, whatever time it is for you, we're going to be talking about Cloudflare's Zero Trust browser. And as you can probably tell from the title, I'm going to be a little bit critical about it. Yeah, I realize I'm a day late. I'm sorry about that. Usually I promise to get a show out. One episode a week, and give you extra episodes should I skip one, preferably in advance. But usually I try to do this on Wednesday. I try to establish a schedule that people can depend on. But sometimes things just go awry. I had thought that this would have been last week was very busy for me, and I thought this week was going to be better, and everything was going to return to normal, but it didn't. It got worse. So this is where we are. But I'm here now. I already also have an extra episode scheduled for you that I've been having on the books to do for like 2 months now, I think. I just need to find the time. So everybody settle in for this one. Get your favorite beverage or whatever you like to do, your little podcast ritual. I don't know. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I have these rituals. For some I go running. For others I just sit down in a comfy chair or, on the sofa, lie down, put my feet up, drink a whiskey. But today I'm drinking black tea. It's already working a lot today, and then I went running, so I'm a bit, I'm trying to stay awake here. Not like that the topic's boring, but it's been a bit of a struggle the last few weeks. I've also noticed that my hay fever is definitely coming on now. I had like a month. Usually by this time in the year I already have it really bad. I already have it like for a month, but I think because it's been so cold, I've been lucky so far, but now it's coming in with a vengeance. And yeah, it is how it is. I'll hope I can, if my voice sounds a bit rough, then don't worry. That's where it's coming from. It's not SARS-CoV-2. It's probably just hay fever. It's hay fever. Last year, it's going to be the same this year. Last year was really bad. Sniffling and stuff is already not nice. But like everybody treats you like a leper. Like last year, everybody treated me like a leper. That wasn't good. But it is how it is. Of course, I'm recording this live as usual, and Ezekiel, who's listening live on Twitch, as I'm walking in the forest. I was a little behind the scenes. This is like my fourth try starting this show. Like usually I do it, I do the show in one go anyway, but usually I can do it like the intro immediately. This is like the fourth take for the intro, and Ezekiel is saying I'm out walking in the forest and keep thinking it's Apache 4G that I'm cutting out, but that's just me me being bad. I mean, you have 4G in the forest. I'm guessing you're not in Germany, because we don't even have 3G in the forest. We've got nothing. It's really bad. Right. So let's get right into the topic. I think this is going to be a little bit of a shorter one because I'm going to explain what this is, and then I'm going to explain why it's bad, and you will see it like immediately. Like the only thing they could do to hide this was like change the name or make it like a really PR name. But I mean, every listener to this podcast will realize why this Cloudflare service is really bad, I think, almost immediately. But let's get into that topic, and let's work through it. Yeah, so I'm gonna look at Cloudflare's zero trust browsing thing. It's like a cloud service. Why am I doing this? Some listener got me onto this and sent me a link and said, "Look, check this out. This might be interesting." I don't know if they specifically meant for the podcast, but it was like, yeah, this is interesting. This is something people will probably run across, and I think we should be looking at this because I should be talking about this because I looked at this and I was like immediately like, seriously, this is what they're doing. So Cloudflare, you might know, you generally know them from like as an end user, you know them from going to a website, and then you get like this shitty page where like, oh, we're not really trusting you, please fill in this captcha or something, or like we're not letting you see this website for some reason because we think you're evil. That's usually how you know Cloudflare. Especially if you use Tor, you will be very much used to this. Ezekiel, it's Ewan Curry. Yes, he says I'm in the UK, so that explains the 4G in the forests. Yeah, so that's probably where you know Cloudflare from. But they do all kinds of things, and they did this zero trust browsing thing. It's based on like some sandbox browsing stuff they did before. They don't only do these like people know them from being a that page that you see is like from usually companies put a like Cloudflare box in front of the actual like web server infrastructure load balancing thing. It's like they do like the service that keeps your website up, mostly against DDoS attacks, right? They're specializing at if somebody attacks your website, filtering out the requests that are probably malicious and stuff like that. And to that, they also do CDN services. To that end, they have a huge network all over the world. I think they're pretty much connected to every major network of every big ISP. They do all this kind of stuff, but they also do like enterprise other things, right? Services. And now with the pandemic, they also have like, I think it's Cloudflare Teams or something. It's and this is part of it. They had the sandbox browsing stuff before, and this is now something they're offering mostly to enterprises. Because with everybody who last year everybody started to working from home, and a big problem, of course, and then this is a legitimate problem for companies, is when you add the company, like it's their computers and they have control over it, and they can make sure they're up to date, and there's no malware on there. And then they send people home and they suddenly use their like private computers. And especially with probably mostly the people that are not listening to this podcast, let's call them normal people, not the nerds and the geeks, our people, the folks we hang out with. That can be a problem because they have all kinds of shit on their computer. They often click on like random lists. If you're a nerd, you know this from your parents. Not to generally blame parents, but it often seems to be the case, when my parents were still running Windows, I had to go there like every few months and clean off the PCs. Now they're running Mac. It's gotten a bit better. I wouldn't say I'm rid of all the problems. They still manage to get themselves into trouble sometimes, but it's that kind of thing. Normal people have that, and that's a legitimate problem for companies. I can understand that. And as part of this whole problem, they thought, well, let's give companies a service that they can, I guess, give to their employees, where they can like surf the internet and are really secure. That's from their private computers at home, and they don't in their day as being an employee, they don't get any malware, and so it protects their computers, but it also protects the company's information and stuff like that. Now this works. The service works like this. So you install a software, which I guess looks like a browser. I haven't used this. I wouldn't even dream of using this, but you install the software, and that connects to a Cloudflare server, which is probably pretty close to you because they have their network, parts of their network, and their CDN service everywhere. And then on your machine, it looks like a browser. It looks like you're browsing the internet, like locally, right? But you're not really. In fact, there's a browser running on the Cloudflare in the cloud, in their infrastructure, on some of their servers. There's like a browser running there, and it works a bit like remote desktop, right? So your mouse movements and your keyboard presses, they're just sent over the network to that browser running in the cloud, and that's actually executing everything. And then the pages it loads get transferred to your client, but not as HTML. It's basically remote. From what I can tell, it's basically remote desktop. They just send you the screen, right? They just send you screenshots of the screen, but like if you would do video streaming, it's kind of like like Stadia works, the gaming thing, and you send your button presses to like Google servers, and the game runs there, and everything happens there, and then they send you video back. And I think it probably works pretty well. I don't know, with gaming, I've never believed in the Stadia bullshit. I think, at least, I don't know where you are, but at least in Germany, internet connections generally are not that good. And it's not like, with this kind of thing, just a quick side discussion about the gaming thing, right? With that kind of thing, it's not like, yes, generally your internet connection is good. I'm not saying, most German internet connections would probably be good enough at a given moment, but then there are moments where everybody's using it, like Friday night, right? And that's when you want to play games. But that's also when everybody on your street is watching Netflix and porn and everything else. And that's when it goes to shit. And that's always the moment. So I'm with these services, I'm always not, like I always mention, like that I don't think they work very well. And it's not like the general performance, always that, basically you have to look at when it's performing the worst. Like that should be your baseline, because that always tends to happen when you actually want to play games or whatever. But it's one thing to play a game on Google servers, right? Yeah, yes. That's privacy to some extent, but it's just a game, right? But here, you're actually browsing the web, right? You're browsing the web on another company's computer. I mean, I get why they're doing this. I write a lot about security. From a security perspective, this has some upsides, right? The web has problems. I mean, there's shit on the web. There's JavaScript. There's all kinds of stuff you can download, and then you click on it, and people do that, and that's how we know that. Okay, a lot of the attacks actually come in via email, but these days that's like, for many people that's the same because they basically use webmail all day. So this probably would cut down on a lot of attacks because, I mean, everything, that pretty much tries to attack you through the browser would then attack the virtual machine that's running on the server. And since your PC only gets screenshots sent, I don't think it protects you from everything because presumably there has to be a way for you to download files, right? Because in your workday, you download files. Let's say you use webmail in that thing, and somebody sends you a file, and then you have to download that, and you have to execute that on your computer. Now, that's where most of the attacks come in. So actually, I think, I don't know. But I have a feeling that it wouldn't protect from a lot of the attacks. But I mean, it certainly has some security benefits. But, it also has a huge privacy flaw. And it just cracks me up that Cloudflare calls this zero trust browsing. Because, I mean, there is no zero trust anything in computing. I always think it's hilarious. I listen to Security Now, Steve Gibson. I like Steve very much. I've listened to that show for almost decades now, since the very beginning. But he has this thing called a trust no one, TNO, and I know what he means by it, right? It's a placative way of saying something, like it's a term, it's almost a brand. But of course, it's not correct. There is nothing in computer that is trust no one. I mean, maybe if you're Steve Gibson and you can write your own email client in assembler, then yes. But like normal people like us, we have to use somebody's software at the very least. And that's already when you're trusting somebody. You're already trusting that developer. It doesn't matter if that's an open source project and it's tons of developers all over the world, or if it's one guy from a company, you're trusting somebody. And even if you're Steve Gibson, you're running Windows, you have to trust the guys at Microsoft. If they are out to get you, you're done. So you have to trust somebody. There's no zero trust. There's no zero trust browsing. You have to trust the browser maker. But that's not the hilarious thing, because this whole thing, how is this like normal browsing isn't zero trust browsing? How is this zero? You basically your trust. This is Cloudflare trust browsing. You're handing your complete browsing experience to this company. They see everything you do on the web through this thing, right? They can watch everything in real time. Every mouse click, every keystroke, they know everything. If you use this thing to log into your banking site, you're sending these button presses to a browser. I mean, even if the connection, which I'm pretty sure, I really hope is gonna be, from you to their servers encrypted, at their end, you're running a browser on their machine, right? It's gotta be decrypted and then fed into their software. Your literal button presses, all of your passwords, they get everything. I mean, what? What? And I mean, they know this, right? Because you look on their websites and the word privacy is not mentioned once. Like all the websites that talk about this, including the ones I linked, is like a PDF, doesn't mention privacy. On the only if you search for privacy on that website, right? The only thing you find is like the link in the bottom to their privacy policy, which it has to be there, they're required by Super user says, I think your objection is to the marketing rather than the technicals. No, my objection is to both. My objection is to the very idea. The very idea is just insane that I would browse like on a third-party company, right? I mean, I would if I work at the company, right, and I use their computers to browse the internet all day, I use their machines, right, and they could keylog everything. I would object to that, right? I think in Germany they can actually do this, but they have to tell you, like in your employment contract, when you sign that, there'll be a sheet. Like they can say, okay, we're putting you under surveillance, basically, but they have to inform you of it. Like I would not work at the company that does that. I object to that. I don't think that's right, even for my employer, to do that. I mean, their argument would be, yeah, you're on company time, right? You're not supposed to do anything private on that computer anyway. But that's everybody does. That is idiotic. And even if I'm doing stuff in my job, right? I don't think my employer should know everything. Like that. It's just over. Like why would they want that? Like any employer that wants to control you to that degree, I would not want to work at. Like, what kind of people are running companies like that, right? What is this? Slavery? I mean, people call it sometimes, working call it wage slavery. I mean, that would be basically it. If they want to know everything you do, like run. Like I'd rather work for like the rubbish collector department, the bin people. I'd rather work for those people. I'd rather be poor under the bridge than to work for a company like that. That's just. I mean, super user says you're right. I mean, you have an argument when you say, I agree that you're giving a lot of power to one company. The only private browser is hardened GNU IceCat. However, you need to grow a beard to use it. Yeah, but even then, you're trusting those people who make that browser. That's my point. You're always trusting somebody. And my point is not that. So if I have Chrome installed on my PC, right? And I'm running it on my PC, that is more privacy conscious than this fucking thing, right? But I know that I'm using Chrome. I know that I'm sending a lot of information to Google. I know that. My ISP has a lot of information. Now with HTTPS everywhere, a lot less. But they have a lot of information. But a lot of that is by like necessity. Okay, I have to trust my ISP to some degree. They're my ISP, right? And we were discussing this in the Discord at some point. I can remember, and like that's just the nature of your relationship with your ISP. So I'm sitting here. I'm streaming this podcast live over an internet connection from Vodafone. Not by choice. I don't like Vodafone. It's the only internet I can get here. I have a Fritz box. It's sitting down there. It's a bloody good router. But I'm running Vodafone's firmware on that Fritz box, right? If they want to spy on me, if like the BND goes or the Verfassungsschutz, which you're going to talk later in the feedback about, again, if they go, we want to spy on Fab, and they put something in that firmware, that's fuck all I can do. So, yes, you always have to trust people by necessity, but you have to be conscious, I think, or I try to be, about that. And sometimes you don't have a choice. The thing is, if you have a choice, that's when it comes down to the wire. You have a choice. I mean, you can not run Chrome, whatever. Yeah, sure, you have all those choices. And, I respect people's arguments for, using Chrome voluntarily, not using Chrome. I respect all of that. But like running your fucking browser in the cloud, like, I don't see an argument for that. If you're an employer, of course, right? This is why they're selling this to enterprises, because yes, there are selling points for the employer, you know. But like, even as an employer, I wouldn't use this for my company, because you're like, you're like handing them all your fucking R&D secret. They know everything your fucking employees do. Do you want that? I wouldn't want that. So I think this, when I was thinking about this, how I could like explain to people who don't understand the technical details maybe so much why this is bad, I would say this is like, if a company came to you and said, you know when you're fucking your wife in your private bedroom at home, and that is really dangerous, because you can get maybe you're fucking other people. You could get all kinds of like sexually transmitted diseases. It's really dangerous. All kinds of accidents happen, like things get stuck in certain places that you don't want. We have a solution. You come to our service center, and we have a room for you with a glass cube, and there's a lovely bed in there and everything, and we got everything prepared. We've got lube, everything, and you just do your fucking there, and we make sure nothing happens to you. We have people watching you at all times. There will be no accidents that come in. If you insert something in the wrong place, they're going to tell you immediately. It's going to be completely safe, right? Completely safe. That's how I feel about this browser. And I guess if you're a company, it's kind of like putting your employees in a glass box and having Cloudflare watch them while they do all their R&D. Basically it's like Cloudflare saying you should when you do your meetings about like the products you're going to release in the future, there should be a Cloudflare guy in the corner taking notes, really, because dangerous things can happen. You could have really bad ideas, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen to you. That's basically what this fucking thing is. Mode 7 says, once you run that in the cloud, you can't even run network analytics on your gateway to figure out what might be getting sent to a third party. You just see a secure connection to wherever that cloud host is. Yeah, I'm guessing they do have analytics. Like if you buy this for your employee, I'm sure they have analytics for your boss, right? But you yourself have no idea. And Cloudflare is like, this is great. This service is great. Like, it's really fast. It's probably faster than your internet connection at home, because our servers are really well connected to all these internet hubs. I believe that. No, I totally believe that. It's probably like really fast and really secure. What cracked me up was like when you Google this thing. I didn't put these as sources in the show notes, by the way. Show notes. I haven't mentioned this yet. privatecitizen.press. Every episode has a lot of show notes with all the links to everything. I didn't put links to press coverage in for this. If you want to figure those out, go to the search engine of your choice. Google Cloudflare or Google or search whatever you want to do. Maybe you don't want to use Google. Cloudflare Zero Trust browsing or browser. You find some press articles from like security publications where they're like, yeah, this is. But they're basically just parroting what the press release from Cloudflare. And they're like, yeah, this is probably going to be really fast, and it's like really secure. Yeah, sure. But you're not mentioning the elephant in the room. This is a fucking ridiculously privacy invade. Like, how can you be, I don't understand these people, right? How can you be an IT security writer, and that's not like the first twitch you have? Like, when I read this, when like this listener sent me like a link, and I read this thing, I think I was like twitching in my chair. I was kind of like, like why? So you're probably gonna ask me, like, you could ask me, why is he even talking about this? Right, this is not something any listener to this podcast would probably ever use, and you might be right. But like, I'm gonna get into that a little bit later, because I think the problem here is not the service or that Cloudflare thinks it's a good service. I don't like Cloudflare as a company anyway. I'm gonna go into that as well a little bit, but like, That's not the problem. The problem is that we're in a society where a company can announce the service and everybody thinks it's a good idea. You don't find one single fucking article on the internet telling you about like the obvious problem with this. And that people are actually considering using this is just like a sign of the times to me. It's like this put everything in the cloud, no matter if it makes sense thing that I think we need to find. But let's talk about that a little bit later. Before we go into that, so Pia says it's sold on a subscription model, but I don't get it. If you can afford it and a great connection, you can afford a good PC. No, that's not the point. This is not the thing. You're actually talking about something else. Okay, not to go off topic, but this browser sounds like Mighty, a Twitter darling. If you don't know, it's called Mighty app. Okay. No, I've never heard of this. Sold on a subscription model, but I don't get it. If you can afford a great connection, you can afford good PC. So what's this Mighty thing? Let's look this up. Let's do some live input here. Make Chrome faster. Mighty is a new browser that lets you have more tabs while taking 10 times less memory. Okay. Built for speed, Mighty streams your browser from a powerful computer in the cloud. What the fuck? So, see, this is what I mean. Who would even think this is a good idea? Like, okay, yeah, it makes my browser faster, right? It uses like 10 times less memory. But I'm basically surfing the internet naked. Like, why? Okay, I'm going to put a link to this in the show notes. It's got great features. Get a reminder about your meetings 1 minute before they start. So you can not miss your Zoom calls. Got all these features. Your internet speed while using Mighty is over 1 gigabit per second. You're running your browser closely connected to the backbone of the internet, where it's peering with other services. Latency is lower to fetch resources, making web apps slow. Yeah, of course. Yeah, sure. But you're browsing on another company's computer. And this is like, apparently this service is even for private. This is even worse. This looks like it's targeted for just consumers. What? I don't get this at all. Yeah, I don't understand this. Also, compared to companies, an end user has no contract with Cloudflare. Firms, providers will be liable, so at least companies can claim back in these situations. I'm not sure. I think if you were doing illegal stuff on the browser on their machine, you're probably still liable. But it's the security privacy section is hilarious. Do they have a privacy section? Okay, let's check this out. This seems fun. Okay, we're talking about this Mighty thing again. MightyApp.com. Technical benefits, security and privacy. Protecting your information and your right to privacy is our top priority. Yeah, that's why you want me to surf the web on your machine, because my privacy is your top priority. God, PR people. Do they actually believe this shit? We commit to keeping your browser history private. Your logged in identity secure and your information under control. Let us be clear, your data will never be sold. Oh, nice. Wow, that's great. We recognize that we earn our trust with you every day, and that won't be easy. Okay, they're not selling my data. That's great, right? What happens if your fucking servers get hacked? And everybody knows what I've been surfing. Limited access, you encryption over the wire. That's a feature. Wow, HTTPS is now a feature. Security audits to stay ahead. Two-factor authentication. Yeah, okay. So at least like this is great. So my authentication to your service is very secure, right? I want to know if is there like biometric scanning for like the employees that get access to my browser history? Browser isolation keeps your data safe. Yeah, it's safe. It's safe in your database. Of course it is. Your data is your data. You're not the product. No, I'm just a naked guy sitting in a glass cube fucking my wife that you're laughing about. If you just voluntarily submit your Pornhub playlist, then you'll be fine. You have nothing to hide, even if you get cracked and exposed that you've been looking at. The funny thing is, for me personally, I don't fucking care, right? I mean, I don't like. I wouldn't be ashamed if somebody like. You know these emails you sometimes get like, we've been watching you whacking off, right? And we will share your porn preferences with the world. And I'm like, okay, go ahead. Like, I mean, I don't specifically want to see videos of me jacking off plastered all over the like the web, but like me jerking off looks like any other guy jerking. I mean, what's and my porn preferences are not that interesting. I saw this movie once where they actually did that to this guy. I think he was like together with like a politician, and she was like running for like president or something, and then the opposition, like to discredit her, like they had like video of him like jerking off, and they put that out, and then he was like totally proactive, and he was like, yeah, that's me, I'm the jerk off guy, hey, come on guys, we all do it. And I love that. That was amazing. Reply to the spammer with a video of you having sex as a power move. Yeah, that's a good idea. Just send him. If I send him a dick pic at that point, is that like unsolicited? I don't know. I don't know how that legal situation will be. Oh God, this is hilarious. Okay, so apparently they're not the only service. But let's get back to Cloudflare. Because, see, my problem with Cloud, I don't like this company at all, right? And I don't like them because of the normal shit they make me go through. And I just want to, somebody has some website, use Cloudflare, right? And I already object to the shit they make you go through to just visit that website, right? So a few years ago, there was this controversy with Tor because people got pissed off. They were using Tor, and they were hitting websites that were running on Cloudflare. And Cloudflare kept, like, for every reload of the page, obviously, because with Tor, your IP address changes a lot, and they're, like, probably shady people have used that IP address in the past. For every, like, reload, they forced them to do, like, the capture stuff. And then, like, there was, like, outrage, like, from Tor users, like, people who legitimately use Tor for some reason. And Cloudflare, to get ahead of that, came out with a PR blog post that they love Tor. And I'd just like reading from this blog post to you for a little bit, because it basically explains what happens when you tell your browser to go to a website, and that website has a reverse proxy, or like a, basically load balancer, and DDoS protection from Cloudflare. So let's quote from this blog post, which is, of course, linked in the show notes, privatecitizen.press. At Cloudflare, we've not explicitly treated traffic from Tor any differently. However, users of the Tor browser have been more likely to have their browsing experience interrupted by captures or other restrictions. This is because, like all IP addresses that connect to our network, we check the requests that they make and assign a threat score to the IP. Unfortunately, since such a high percentage of requests that are coming from the Tor network are malicious, the IPs of the Tor exit nodes often have a very high threat score. Right, so your IP has a threat score. With most browsers, we can use the reputation of the browser from other requests it's made across our network to override the bad reputation of the IP address connecting to a network. For instance, if you visit a coffee shop that is only used by hackers, the IP of the coffee. What? It's good. That coffee shop that's only used by hackers. It's in East Ukraine. I go there all the time. The IP of the coffee shop's Wi-Fi. Yeah, East Ukraine, because it's
Goddamn Ruskies!
For instance, if you visit a coffee shop,
Goddamn Ruskies!
that's only used by hackers,
Goddamn Ruskies!
the IP of the coffee shop's Wi-Fi may have a bad reputation.
Hoppachki!
But if we've seen your browser behave elsewhere on the internet, acting like a regular web surfer and not a hacker, then we can use your browser's good reputation to override the bad reputation of the hacker coffee shop's IP. This hacker coffee shop, great business idea. Should just call it that, like hacker. Free Wi-Fi. So what this means, right? What this means is that for Cloudflare to perform their business that the customers buy from them, they track everybody on their fucking network. They track your IP. They try to track like your browser with cookies and all kinds of shit. And I mean, I understand why they're doing this. I understand. And it's not completely like bad, of course. They're performing a legitimate service to their customers, which they pay a lot of money for because it is needed. When you're under a DDoS attack, you do need something like this. So I'm not really objecting. I know why they're doing this. I'm not really objecting to that. But like, I also see the consequences. They're basically tracking everybody across a lot of the internet. And so they're already building like a database of everybody's browsing habits. But it's not enough. Now they want you to actually browse from their computers to make it easier for them. What the fuck? Yeah, it's hilarious. And I mean, we're talking about a company that already runs 81% of all known reverse proxies. So that those things that, if you go to a big organization's website, the server you actually hit, right? That's like the load balancer and not the web server that you get to later, like the first hop on their network. 81 of all companies that use reverse proxies use Cloudflare, and almost 17% of the internet. I mean, it's not as bad as AWS, yes, but they already have 17% of the internet, and they want more. They're already watching traffic on 17% of the internet, and they're assigning, they're assigning little threat scores to you. Oh, you've been a good fab. Fab's been visiting Pornhub a little bit too much. We need to give him some more captures. Maybe we'll not let him to that website at all because he's been like, I just don't like that. I know why they're doing this, but like this is like AWS like running all of the websites. That's not what the internet was meant to be. This is not good. We shouldn't be applauding this kind of thing. On a side note, what I really like about Cloudflare, if you go to their Wikipedia page, I'm pretty sure this was like I don't know if this was their PR directly or if people actually believe this, but like they basically made the controversy section about the company all about progressive liberal people complaining that Cloudflare hosts some like right-wing websites. Like the Daily Stormer, for example, right? They use Cloudflare services. And that's the big outcry. Like, that's the controversy. And actually, that makes Cloudflare look incredibly good because they have all, like, these quotes about, we're not going to cutting them off because we think we should, not like AWS, who apparently thinks this, and we talked about this in early episodes, but, like, we shouldn't censor the internet, right? We are just selling a service. That's commendable. But it makes it look like this company is completely controversial only because they're so free speech friendly, right? Not about the fact that they're running like 17% of the internet. Like that's the thing I would be worried about. Because, this free speech friendly fucking stuff doesn't mean anything. At the moment where they decide to not be free speech friendly anymore, they can cut off 17% of the internet for you. or they can just cut people off their network and then, they get DDoSed. I've never understood like why people like this seems to be like an unhealthy. It's kind of like Facebook. It's like this unhealthy business model, or like Google. That where they want to own all of your information. They want to own like basically all of the traffic on the internet. And yeah, sure, if they control like the flow of most of the traffic on the internet, it'll be really easy to do DDoS prevention. And if they know everything about everybody, they can cut the bad guys off. But like I'm just thinking, at what cost? Like, at what cost? And now let's address this. Like, why is he even talking about this? Because like people listening to this podcast would never use the service. But that's not really the point. I think everybody who's listening to this will have seen in like 2 minutes why this is like a shitty idea and you would never do this. But like the thing that's even more important to me is like the overarching thing is the fact that this exists as a service and that people are considering using it and companies are using it. Just that worries me. Like that's the most worrying thing to me, because that tells me like this, I don't know what this brain cancer people already have, where they're like, let's put everything in the cloud. Doesn't even matter if it makes sense. It doesn't matter. Just put it in the cloud. That's like the default now. Everything goes into the cloud. Like the only reason to not put something in the cloud is some like curmudgeonly fucking data protection privacy nutcases like me and like the government people, like in the German government and some other government saying like, no, that's like a problem. We don't want that. Like, why do normal people think this is a good, like, am I getting this old? Like, I'm almost 40 now. I like to think that I was always this curmudgeonly. I don't think I've changed that much. But I'm like, what is wrong with people? Like, why don't they see this? Like the other day, I was walking. So my dad was really proud. My dad was like, I bought a new, what do you call those in English? Like a heating, like a cooking element, like just the things where you, basically a stove, but like not back in the day where the stove was like the oven with the stove on top. You now have just these stove tops that you put in the kitchen. And he's like, I bought this new one. It's like induction and everything. And it's got like, it can detect what, it doesn't have like 4 heating spaces. It's like all one big thing. And then like it organically decides how much is heated based on the pots that are on there. And I'm like, okay, that sounds kind of cool. And I go in there and I look at it and it looks kind of cool. And I look at it and it has like a big Wi-Fi sticker on it. It's a fucking stove top with Wi-Fi. And then you look up what like the manufacturer says, why it has, you can use it to send fucking emails and call people? Like what? Why would I try to call somebody on the phone from my fucking stovetop in the kitchen? I mean, you can also use it to talk to the, well, God, why don't I know? I don't know any of these kitchen terms in English. The thing that the fan that you have over the heating place that sucks out the vapor from the food. That Dunstabsauger. What's that? Let's look this up. Dunstabzug. Takes ages to put the German exhaust hood. Yes, that thing, or extractor, as Choblerino says in Twitch chat. That thing. So you can talk to that, and then if it figures out how many pots you have on the stove, and then I mean that's kind of a feature. It's not really one like for the expense of putting fucking Wi-Fi in my stove, it saves me like pushing one button. Like how? It's like people got an Alexa in the kitchen because they're like, oh yeah, if I want to change a song, I can do this by talking. Like you dry your hands and you do it on your phone. Like that you're saving that action. That's what you're buying a device. That's why you're hooking your fucking stovetop up to the internet. Like no wonder the Russians are hacking everything.
Goddamn Ruskies.
No, I mean, we're making it bloody easy for them, aren't we? Anyway, this is like the mindset that I don't get. That's like the mindset, and they don't think about this. Like apparently the people in the Cloudflare people, you can hardly blame them. They just want to come up with a product, and they probably need the data for I don't know. But like the companies buying this, I think the management people are not thinking about this. Like the users are not thinking about this. Like if I was working for a company and I said, okay, from now on you're gonna use this and you're gonna just serve on Cloudflare's servers, I would say fucking no. I mean, yes, you like to keep your job and everything, and you need to put money on the table, but at some point it's like, where does it end? Like, what the fuck? And I mean, if we're now, if you're talking about this Mighty thing, that's even worse. Like this, I mean, Cloudflare was already like blowing my minds with like how far the brain cancer has gotten that. But that kind of made sense to me because they're selling it to companies and executive in companies, and they think like the Cloudflare company people, and then all not very smart, or at least not critical. I don't know. But this is like aimed at end users. That's even worse. That's like a company thinking you can make this product and make a nice website, and then the end users will use it. And I think the worrying thing is that they probably have a ton of users. I think they're probably right. I think whoever grows up now, the fucking Zoomers, they don't even think about this. They'd use this. They'd have no problem using this. And then you look at this, like, this website, it's hilarious. Ben Levy, entrepreneur. Mighty has helped me. It's like this laughing guy. He's wearing a base cap backwards. That's all. It's like he's like 30 or something. And he's wearing a base cap backwards. It's already, like, never listen to people that look like this. That's your first clue. But anyway, Mighty has helped me become way faster to execute inside of Facebook. What kind of language is this even? Mighty has helped me become way faster to execute inside of Facebook Ads Manager. That's not a sentence. It's not even a well-formed English sentence. Specifically opening up ad creatives, making changes, and assessing performance. Who are these people? Who are these people that they think that makes me want to... What is going on in the world? What is this? Are they all like... In German we say, hast du Lack gesoffen? Are you drinking paint thinner? What the fuck? Execute himself? Yeah, you probably would be better for the world. I mean, Sanjay Dastor, CEO and co-founder at Skip, whatever that is, says, Chartio is way faster. Dashboard rendering with all those data points is more intense than I thought. I compared it to Chrome, and it's not just snappier, it's multi-second faster. Yeah, and all that great analytics data is now with whoever runs this Mighty thing. Is this a Twitter company? Privacy statement. Who runs this? EU, these regions have data protection laws that require us to specify the following. Our lawful basis for collecting and processing personal information under the European General Data Protection GDPR include perform blah blah blah. Yeah, but you're not on EU service. I don't think, like, unless I'm running my fucking browser on an EU-based server, I don't think this is GDPR compliant. Mighty Computing Inc. in San Francisco. So they're like I think super user said that they're like a Twitter company or something. God, this is just bad. But I do like, this is why I like live input on Twitch from chat, because this is hilarious. So I was like, look at this shitty product, and somebody just comes up with an even more shittier product. Oh my God. Speaking of feedback, let's talk. I got some let's talk about that. I think I've racked my brain enough about how everybody's brain has apparently turned to jelly. And before we get into the producer feedback, Superuser qualifies not Twitter, but they have people shilling them a lot, especially on crypto Twitter. Oh yeah, those guys. Yeah, those guys are the ones you want to take advice from for everyday life. Crypto Twitter, right? Like, you know, those Silicon Valley entrepreneurs are already like really bad for the planet and they're fucking everything. But like crypto entrepreneurs, like they make look like Wall Street hedge fund executives, like, I don't know, world-saving, selfless, like monks or whatever. Like, crypto Twitter, hilarious. Has Elon Musk already said that this thing is a good idea? Anyway, let's get into some feedback. I have a message from Urban Koistinen, who says in reference to one of my earlier socialism episodes, the episode where I explained the socialism primer. I was talking about that in a recent episode, I think, and I think he understood that I was doing a socialism episode, which I've already done. If you want to listen to that, if you haven't, that was episode 34 from last year. Socialism primer, that's an evergreen. You can listen to that every day, every time, and at any point. I'm trying, not every day. That would make your brain go. Probably not. That wouldn't be good. But yes, that's the one you should listen to if you haven't. And maybe I'm going to do another one for which this would apply. But I'm addressing this anyway. So Urban says, I've heard but don't know. Well, I think he means don't know for sure, that while there is only one party in Vietnam, they still have meaningful elections with different candidates representing different public policy positions. I hope you might clarify if this is so when you do your episode on socialism. I could look into that. I didn't for while preparing this show, because basically to me, I mean, yes. I mean, if you have a one party, that's not specifically a socialism thing, because it's not specific to socialism. But if you have a one party system, that's a totalitarian thing, right? That's an autocratic totalitarian state. You do not have democracy. Yeah, you can have one party, you can have meaningful elections with different candidates, but you don't have democracy, right? If that party really wanted to have plurality of opinions, they would allow other parties. The only reason you only have one party is so that the government is afraid of plurality of opinion. That is not I mean, this is probably in reference to, I talked about China as well in the past, where, this is the same with Vietnam. If you look at the Wikipedia page, it makes it sound like it's like a democracy, which of course it isn't. So that's not necessarily a statement on the everyday quality of life in the country or on the on how well the government works. I'm far not an expert on China, but if you read, there's lots of scientific, political science literature on the topic, and I think it's very well established that, especially in recent years, the system as it is it works. To some degree, it works well for the people who live in it. Like, if I understand it correctly from the limited amount of stuff I've read, the Communist Party in China has been so successful because it is really good at looking at what people want and giving it to them, which can make your quality of life actually really good if you work within that regime. But like that's one thing, right? It's nobody ever said that, like a totalitarian government, even like, fascism, there's been always this saying about fascism that at least the trains run on time, right? Nobody has ever said that, like, specifically quality of life has to be bad. The question is about freedom. And sometimes, sometimes the price you pay for freedom is actually that the quality of your government or of your life decreases, right? If you have plurality, and that's the thing always, when I talk to Mike and we were discussing Trump, that is the thing I objected to very strongly in the US press, always when they were going on about Trump and how you have to impeach him and whatever. You're basically attacking the basis of your system, of your political system, because that's the price you pay in a system that has plurality of opinion, that other people that have a different opinion than you can get to power. And then you'll have some years maybe where they do things that you don't like, right? So I, for example, really don't like the Green Party in Germany, and I think they're all idiots. And I think they have their priorities completely wrong. And I think like the actual environmental policies that they're doing don't make any sense and are dumb. If they get the majority, for example, in the next election, which might happen actually, I have to I don't want them removed. And I understand, I was vehemently opposed to Angela Merkel getting objected. And now we've had her for 18 years or whatever. It's but I'm not calling for a change of the system, or, in the US would be get rid of the electoral college or whatever. In Germany it would be something else, right? Because I know that the price I pay for this plurality of opinion is that the people who have other opinion might get their people elected into government. And so for me, this ideal of freedom and actually having a free state and rule of law and all of that, having democracy is much more important than actually people making bad decisions and the government being bad for some time, right? With all the vehement disagreement I've had with the German government over the COVID thing, they're duly elected, and I don't agree with the stuff they're doing. I think it's to some degree unconstitutional, but I would never call for the government to be removed because of that. Right? And so for me, that's the thing with China as well. I mean, why their system works that well, as far as I can tell, is because they collect. One of the reasons is they have so much information about people. One of these days, I'm going to do an episode about the social scoring system that's been on the docket for almost, I think, from pretty much day one of the show. I really haven't gotten around to it, but this very pervasive and social scoring system that they have in China, which I think is something that they're trying. I say they, but it's something that that's an idea that appeals to people, especially for some reason, it seems to appeal to progressive people. I think because they often believe, so to speak, in science and in technological advancement, and these people tend to gravitate towards technocrats in government, and I think they would think it's a good idea for the government to know very much about their the citizens. And we've seen this. We've seen the day. I mean, since the show started, since the COVID thing started, I've cataloged again and again and again where the government goes, we need more information. We need more information to protect you. And a big part of society says, yeah, I think that's a good idea. And I think that's where it's going. So I think we are in for something similar. It's not going to be like the social scoring system in China, because you can only do that if you're not a democracy, if you're a totalitarian state. I would even call it a dictatorship, although it's not. Problem is, dictatorship usually assume there's one dictator, but that'd be like the same in Vietnam, right? At the end of the day, yes, you might have candidates, you might have people, you might even have votes, you might even have the ability of your citizens telling you what decisions they want. But as long as you have no way for the citizens to decide who runs the government, it's not a democracy, and it's not a state I would ever want to live in. Anyway, right. Let's move on here. I think I've addressed this. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do another episode on social. We could explore some of this stuff, but there's a lot more topics I want to do first, especially the social scoring system. That's one I have to get down to at some point. Anyway, Astral C on the Discord said, listen to the podcast about the Stasi Trojan. I don't get the German government. Quote, we don't want a totalitarian regime that spies on its citizens every move, so we need to spy on our citizens every move, end quote. Also, how does a domestic intelligence agency protect the constitution? Isn't it protecting the government, i.e. ideas, from the people, i.e. dissenting ideas? I think they think that they need to protect. They always say, they always frame it like, you need to protect the social order. And I've never agreed with this, because I think, in Germany it's always targeted at, a takeover of power like the Nazis did. But even that term that's being used, because the Nazis called it a takeover of power, is a wrong term. It's Machtergreifung, the seizure of power. That's what the Nazis called it. Has always been in political science clarified as that is a wrong term, because that's not really, they didn't seize power. The party was duly elected. And then afterwards, they changed the political system where they made a democracy, a democratic republic, into a totalitarian dictatorship. And I just object to having the state protect, having, I guess the idea is that the government in power is benign and is trying to protect against this. But I think the protection against this should be inherent in the system. I think the political system should be built in such a way that the government in power, or, not only the political system, also society, right? That's why free press is important, should be resilient against this. We call this in Germany wehrhafte Demokratie, democracy that can defend itself, where it's a job of the system and society to defend against this. I don't think it should be a service or an organization, especially not one that's part of the executive of the government. Because if you look at the Nazi thing, the problem why the Nazis could do that is because the laws at the time were set up in a way that you could do that. They everything they did was basically legal to a certain extent. It wasn't so much, it wasn't in the spirit of the law, but it was in the letter of the law. And so when the German Democratic, no, the Federal Republic of Germany, not the socialist state, the Federal Republic of Germany, when that was, when that system was established and our constitution was established, that was built in a way that it would be harder or almost impossible to do the same thing. And yeah, I completely agree. I don't understand how for me the term Verfassungsschutz, and I think I've talked about this in the previous episode, was always a joke. I never understood how they could mean that, how that would, to me, the very concept is a joke of an extra a government service, part of the executive branch, operating out of the purview of the Constitution in many respects, should protect the Constitution. And I would tend to agree with Astral C here, And I would tend to agree and say that, yes, it seems to me that that is a domestic intelligence agency, it's a spy agency. Its job is to keep the government in power and to protect the government against certain dissenting ideas. Now, if everything works correctly, they're protecting a benign government that is operating within the democratic framework against people that want to overthrow that framework. And then everything is more or less fine, but I still object to the idea. I don't think we need it. I don't think we need this service. What we need is a press. The government. We need a free press. We need a government that defends our freedom of speech. If it defends our ability to protest and disagree if we think the government goes into the wrong direction. And that's where it's lacking in the moment. Because one of the big problems I have, and I've seen with this, and I've talked about this on the show, and I hope I made myself clear, with the COVID restrictions, is not actually the current case. I'm not so much, I think it's all completely overblown, whatever, but that's actually not the thing I think is important. The important thing is, if we assume that all these restrictions were well and good and did everything, divorce yourself from the situation and just look at the processes that were established and the mode of thinking that went on the side of the government and on the side of the citizens. And now think a government that is malicious and wants to do something like Hitler did in the day, uses the same processes and the same mindset in the minds of the people. And that's what worries me, because the government always says this is a special situation. This is a Notstand. The laws that Hitler got himself into power and got basically democracy to get abolished and shut down, they were called Notstandsgesetze. They were emergency decrees. And the problem is the government always, you always do something like this with emergency decrees. And that's what they used here. That's what they used in this situation. And if you get people used to that, they can't decide. I think we've seen that society can't decide, even in a world that we live in, where you have the internet and you have all this information. So people get scared and they don't think straight. And you tell them your kids are gonna die, and then they just go, yeah, whatever, and they give up their rights. And it's just clear to me how a malicious government could do the same thing for these kinds of ends, where you basically want to get rid of all the democratic processes. And what scares me is that, yes, we've built, especially in Germany, we've built our government in a way that is supposed to be resistant to this. But what I'm seeing is that some of these mechanisms, I think, and it's not like I'm just a guy from the street. I've studied, I don't have a degree, but I spent years and years studying politics and studying this kind of stuff and studying the German constitution. And I really think, I'm not a lawyer, not a constitutional lawyer, but I really think some of these protections should have kicked in. I don't think the Infektionsschutzgesetz, I think that should have been stopped in its tracks. And I think some of that should have been recalled by now by the Constitutional Court. I don't see these mechanisms that should protect us kicking in. And I don't see that if they're not kicking in now, I don't see them kicking in the next time when somebody scares the population, and this time maybe for nefarious ends. That's what I'm so afraid of. Super user. Twitch chat's talking about elections. The Nazis held elections, to be fair, with only one candidate. Yeah, but they were elected. The election they were elected in was a democratic election. It just went and made all other parties illegal for the reason I talked before. Anyway, Superuser says, the Syrian election results are being announced tonight. I'm betting on a landslide for al-Assad. To which Redeemer Fadi smiles knowingly in chat. Yeah. Well, speaking of COVID, I'd asked people to tell me how it's going in their neck of the woods. We have Steve Hose with a COVID-19 restrictions update from the wonderful state of Texas in the US. And he just makes me want to live in Texas. Steve says, here in Texas, things are getting back to the real normal. The only places, that could be a country song. Brang, the real normal. We need to get back to the real normal. The only places you have to wear a mask is where private businesses require it. Those businesses have no mandate from any health or government organization. I work in a 12-story office building just north of Dallas. This morning between 8 and 9, the building managers removed all the signs that require masks in elevators and common areas. My brother's restaurant nearby is at 100% capacity and no plexiglass. The only thing that is different from pre-COVID times is that servers are still wearing masks, but my brother just told me his restaurant's going no masks on Monday. Sounds amazing. I want to go to Texas. Also, the weather. The problem here also is I don't want to put it, that's good news. I don't want to put a damper on that, but the problem is not going away, right? What scares me about this whole situation is just that anybody who's in politics and has a bit of political sense in the last year and a half could not have helped but notice something. No matter how you stand on the whole virus situation and how bad it is, whatever, doesn't matter. With a little bit of political sense, with a little bit of political antenna, you will have seen one thing. You will have noticed what you can put people through, what people are willing to put up with if you just scare them enough of something. And that's happened all over the world. And I think that's extremely dangerous. Just like, in the last 100 years, dictators and regimes, they all learned in the beginning of the 20th century. They all learned from Stalin and Hitler. Everybody who was a despot and an autocrat afterwards has studied those guys and has seen how you seize power, how you keep it, and how you can get your citizens to you just look at Germany, how Hitler got the population to keep waging a war that was, for all intents and purposes, lost for 3. Anybody with a little bit of sense, it blows my mind to this day. I mean, yeah, this was a bit more different because information wasn't that available. But, at some point, when you're in Germany at the time and they're trying to invade Russia and they don't make it to Moscow, if you know anything of European history up to that point, you know that the war is lost. You know that it's over. You know that the Wehrmacht, at that moment where it didn't take Russia, that's when the war was lost. People were saying the war was lost on D-Day. The war was lost when the Americans entered the war. Bullshit. The war was lost at the very moment where Hitler didn't manage to subjugate the Russians. Because the only way he only got that far is basically because he tried to outrun the mobilization of the Red Army. And everybody fucking knew that the Red Army, once it was gonna get moving, I'm reading a Stalin biography, and they're literally 5 years before World War II, or even 7-8 years before World War II, they have this. It's based on all these protocols from all these different countries, and basically the Red Army has maneuvers, and the Germans know, and the Russians know. And the British know that the Germans want to attack Russia. And they know, there's people on the record, army generals of the of the British army saying like, yeah, so the Russians are building at a point where you kind of know that the Germans want to attack them, and they'll have to do it in the next 5 years. If they don't do it in the next 5 years, then no chance. They'll just outrun them, because basically the Russians fucked their economy with the revolution. They tanked everything. They executed everybody who knows how to run a company. They killed all these people. They fucked their economy like 5 times to Sunday, and then they just needed basically a decade to rebuild everything. And they bought technology from Germany and all of that, and they had to rebuild all of that. But you could see it happening. They could see it. They could see it happening, and they knew like they're gonna be at the same level as Germany in 5 years. So to me, like, that's just I don't know how you could have not seen this. And this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, people pay attention to this kind of thing, and people who are despots and autocrats paid attention to how Hitler managed to get a population. He got like an army that knew the war was lost. He got the population and yeah, okay, maybe they didn't see it, when the assault on Moscow failed. But I mean, they saw it in the last year of the war. I mean, you couldn't live in Germany and not see that all the fucking cities were bombed. The economy there was no economy. All the industry was destroyed. I mean, everything it was so destroyed that you can't even imagine that. I mean, they keep finding the bombs here. Like 2 weeks ago, like it took me like 3 hours to get home from my parents because they found 2 more bombs. Like, apparently that's a whole nother point. Apparently the RAF was incredibly shit at building bombs, because apparently none of those exploded. They're finding them to this day. They're fucking everywhere. But still, they managed to destroy everything else in the process. So I guess they're just through enough. But like, I mean, people see these things, and that's how people who run countries, want to run countries, are interested in politics. They took notice last year. They saw what you can do if you scare people enough. You can get them to do all kinds of things, put funny things in their faces, not leave their house for weeks. If you can just convince them that whatever you're doing will save them, you can get them to do all this crazy shit. And that's what worries me. That's going to be a problem. So there's going to be the next emergency, right? There's going to be the next virus, the next bacteria, something. At some point, somebody in government will figure out that the most, this cracked me up by the way. Do you know what the most deadly infectious disease in humans is? Like the infectious disease that kills the most people every year? Give you 2 seconds to if you're listening to this podcast, to figure it out. You're never going to get it. Tuberculosis. It's tuberculosis. If you're living in a civilized world, nobody's ever died of tuberculosis, right? If you get diagnosed, antibiotics, you can treat it with like if you get diagnosed in the industrialized world, your chances to die of this is 1%. But if it's untreated, it's like 50%. And so all the poor people are dying from this. But it's like, that's like a disease. Like, that's basically, if you live in the industrialized world, you don't even, you're like, what? People still dying of tuberculosis? Yeah. At one point, they're going to figure that out. And then they're going to scare you with tuberculosis. Or anything, like anything. It's going to, that's what I'm saying. As much as I'm happy that things are normal in Texas, and please, Steve, enjoy it for me, yeah? Go fucking out, have whatever you want, a steak, just have a 6 pints of beer for fab. I'm gonna live vicariously through your experiences. I'm really happy for you, but I'm just saying, like, we can't let up now. We can't go like, oh, it's gonna, they're gonna open up and it's gonna be relatively normal again. But we from now on, we have to be fucking on the lookout, because all those laws are on the book, and these fucking people know what they can do, and they're using it for everything. Encryption. They're gonna fight encryption. They're gonna fight cash. War on cash. It's gonna be some environmental shit, which is not really in the purview of the show, but yeah, it's bad. Anyway, Steve also sent me another message, separate message that I'm gonna quote as well, because this is about German cars. I had mentioned, I think, that my T4, my Volkswagen Transporter, is like rusting away. Steve says, "Sorry to hear about your German-made car rusting from the inside out. That seems fairly pathetic. There are 2 German cars which I would love to own, but they are very old. A 1980s Mercedes 300D still put around in the United States. I have looked at purchasing one, but nice car, but they are well over 20 grand. Seems to have an incredible engine that will not stop. Currently own a 2006 Dodge Ram 2500 with the last of the 5.9 Cummins diesel engines." Oh God, that's an engine. Sometimes I see like the big Rams, like they have in Germany now as well. You're just like, they always have like a Harley Davidson sticker on the back. It always seems to be like the Harley riders. And then because the Harley breaks down a lot, I guess they need to put them on the back of the truck. I'm a fan of a diesel engine that lasts a long time. Me too. This is why I bought the T4. Because the T4 has, like the T4 TDI that I have, has an incredible diesel engine that runs well over 500,000 kilometers. Some people over 1 million, which is mine has 320,000 on it now. We bought it used. It's an incredible engine. The rust thing is not like, it's not specifically a German car problem. It's just VW being shit. That's why I always like back in the day on these Outlaws, people were like, German cars are so amazing. This is just like all fucking propaganda. German car companies do the same stupid shit. Like, and it's not even like my car. Like, so mine was built in 2002, and actually, it's because it's cheap Chinese fucking steel, right? They could have used German steel, would have been fine, and they actually did. Like, just before they got this model off the market and they introduced the T5, they started using good steel. So the very last of the T4s are actually fine. And the T5s are fine, T6s are fine. Actually, it started with the T3, the 80s transporter. That is actually the first one. So we had friends who had a T3, which they sold, I think now from, I guess, 86. Same problem, same fucking Chinese steel. They started using, in the 80s, VW started using this fucking steel that didn't treat it correctly. It's fucking hilarious. But like, it's with everything. There's like so Mercedes are really well known for good build quality, especially in Germany. They have a car, I think it's the E-Class from 2010, I think, or something. Basically, really expensive car, limousine, great car, everybody loves it. They tried to save some money, and there are like 2 screws in the back, like in the boot hatch, like the thing, in the back. I think they hold like the number plate or something, like the number plate holder, I don't know, maybe even the Mercedes logo. Something is screwed in there anyway with 2 screws. And they tried to save like 3 cents on the screws. And they didn't buy high quality screws. They bought like shitty screws. And those rust. And the problem is, if rust is like cancer, right? I know a lot about rust now. And if something rusts, it keeps rusting. And like if you have like amazing quality steel, right? And you drill a hole in it, and then you put a really shitty screw in it, and the screw starts rusting. All around the screw hole starts rusting as well. It doesn't matter how good quality the steel is, and because basically, anti-rust steel treatment basically works by not getting rust on there, right? It everything rusts, every steel rusts, but it'll keep it very long without starting to rust. But as soon as you have rust on there, if you have a rust spot somewhere, it just grows. You can't fucking do anything against that. Not a lot. So by fucking putting this cheap screw in there, they like you to this day, if you see this car, you won't see one going around the road without like rust on the back door. They're always rusty. It's all because of this fucking screw. It's I think it's planned obsolescence more than anything. Car industry started late. No, actually, I don't think it is, because Mercedes fucking ruined their reputation. They always had a reputation of being like really good quality cars, and this fucking ruined their reputation. And VW the same. Because the funny thing is they have better steel in other cars, and this is like the transporter, right? You don't want to have planned obsolescence in this. This is like it's not even built like, for VW has like two different subsidiaries. They have VW, they build the consumer cars, and then there's VW Nutzfahrzeuge. They build like the utility for like companies and shit. And the transporter is actually one of those. And no, they're just like it's not even planned obsolescence. It's not that. It's just like some manager somewhere and the controlling people going like, oh, we could actually if we save 3 cents on this car, we built millions of them. It's gonna save us so much money in the long run, and then they just get dollar signs in their eyes and they fucking don't think anymore. They don't think. They don't think about this like ruining their fucking reputation. Sometimes it's a supply issue too. Yeah, sometimes it is. But with the T4, it's like, fucking Germany. I come from the Ruhr area. We were the steel fucking. It's not like we ran out of coal. We stopped. First of all, we stopped mining coal. That was a political decision. And then we could have still made steel. It was just too expensive. So they're fucking literally where I was born in Duisburg. There's all these steel works, and they fucking they disassembled at the end of the 80s, in the beginning of the 90s. They disassembled steel works there and shipped them on ships to China, right? In like Wuhan province is where a lot of these ended up. And now they're producing the steel, and then they send us the steel, and it's just like shittier steel because they're not as good at it, right? And for like. The amazing thing is people are like, yeah, let's get rid of steelworks. It's so environmentally more friendly. Yeah, while they were still here, they had like all these filters, right? And they were filtering even in the 80s, they started all this filtering of all like the fucking exhaust. And yeah, do you think they installed those? That was like all EU regulations and shit. Do you think they installed those filters when they rebuilt the things in China? No. It's cheaper without. It's just fire. It just drives me insane. Anyway, this is like rant fab. Let's move on here. Steve ends with hard to believe about the Mercedes that a used car that is 40 years old, even in bad shape, could command such a price. Yeah, if it's a good car. The other German car I would love to own is a 1976 BMW 2002, but that is poorly for aesthetic reasons. Those are some really good aesthetic reasons. I'm usually not a fan of BMW, like the way they look. Not as bad as Porsche. I fucking hate Porsche. I've never seen one Porsche I liked from the look. But that is a beautiful car. The 1976 BMW 2002 is a beauty. That is one of the nicest German cars ever built, I would say. There are a few others I really like, but like there's some Opels actually I do really like, but that is a beautiful car. That is beautiful. Yeah. Does that already have the Hofreiterknick? Oh yeah, it does. It does have on the back window the little foldy thing. Lovely car. Anyway, I got another message from Mike Small. He wrote me a relatively long email. I'll just cut out some little things here that I found interesting. Mike says, I'm writing to say I greatly enjoy these last few episodes. It's pretty cool. It's good to hear from people. Thanks for doing that. That helps me. I want to know what you like and what you don't like, because then I can give you more of what you like. And I need your input. I'm not tracking you. I'm writing to say I'm not Cloudflare. I'm writing. I could have this room where you come in and I just watch you listen to the podcast. That would greatly help me with this. I'm writing to say that I greatly enjoyed these last few episodes. I especially like when you combine a privacy and computing topic with German politics. I have a pretty narrow view of the world, mostly only being familiar with US and Canadian politics, so it's appreciated. Well, I'm glad I can help. I mean, that this happens because I live here, of course, right? I'd love to concentrate on other countries as well. It's just like hard to get that information, which is why I love, if somebody from the Netherlands, for example, is listening and has some input, I'd love to do something about that. It's just very hard. Sorry, this is the This is the hay fever influence. My voice is going all to crap. Let me drink the rest of my tea to make it through this podcast. Anyway, so I'd love angles from all over the world. Obviously, being in Germany, I get a lot of direct information. It makes it easier. Sometimes I worry that it's too German-centric, but, I see it's great that people appreciate this. Redeemer says to the BMW, I have to say I don't understand why you like that car. I don't know. It's got like that, I don't know. It's like the 70s Corvette Stingray a little bit. It's like the German version. I don't know. It's like the long hood or whatever it is. I don't know. Taste, man. No accounting for taste. Mike continues. Oh, if you like Billy Joe Shaver, so your gem log, check out the episode of Norm Macdonald. The episode of Norm Macdonald has a show that he's on. They're friends. Or they were friends, sadly. Billy Joe is not with us anymore. Died last year. I'm not that big of a country fan beyond Johnny Cash and Willie Nelson, but that episode is great, both the music and the stories. I will check that out. Obviously, I love Billy Joe Shaver. He was a great songwriter. I do like his voice. I like the Texan accent. And he's like, I like outlaw country, right? And you can't get more outlaw than Billy Joe Shaver. He literally shot a man in the face. And got away with it as well. All these punk bands who say they're punk and then they have like all these fancy cars and fucking live it up and have like huge mansions and shit. Yeah, Billy Joe Shaver is fucking outlaw. He literally shot a guy in the face because he didn't like him. I mean, that's just living it. If you like me and you do like country, there's two, mentioning the Gemlog as well. I've wrote about these. There's two bands I've recently discovered that I had no idea existed. The Steel Woods are amazing. They're like people compare them to why can't I? They're like a southern country rock band. What's the fucking band that did no, I can't even remember the song. What's wrong with me? Oh God, I hate it when I don't put these things in the show notes. What's their name? Kid Rock covered the song. Why can't I? Okay, now I have to. A southern rock band. Lynyrd Skynyrd, yes. So they were number one on Google. So that helped me. Lynyrd Skynyrd, yeah. They're always compared to Skynyrd, but I don't think they're actually that similar. Sweet Home Alabama, that's the fucking song. Thank you. Sweet Home Alabama. So Steel Woods are amazing. They have very, very intelligent lyrics, which I like. I'm a guy for lyrics, obviously. And then through them, I discovered a guy like even more. This is just like, this is like real country. It's also outlaw country. So if you like that kind of thing, check out Cody Jinks. Seems to be a really cool dude. Doesn't really, he's got a long beard and shit, but he doesn't really look like a country guy. He's got like tattoos all over the place. Apparently he had a metal band which didn't take off. And then he was like, fuck it, I'm not going to play the music I listened to as a kid, and started playing country. And that guy's amazing. He's like, I think he, like me, he's a Waylon fan. I see a lot of like the songwriting is reminiscent of Waylon Jennings. But he has an amazing voice. Great guy. And seems to be like a really, really nice guy as well. So check out Cody Jinks, pretty cool. Anyway, Mike continues, looking forward to an episode on IPFS. Yeah, I'm going to do that at some point. An episode on alternative phone operating systems might be nice to hear. I think I have to do that as part of the grid OTG thing I have going. If there's enough there to talk about in the present tense, I think there is. There's always, it's not taking off, but still interesting. The project I'm most excited about is Postmarket OS. I actually had never heard of this. I'm going to have to look this up. German project creator, by the way. Yeah, so I'm going to do that. Great input. This is what I want. Please tell me what you like, what you don't like. And if you have ideas for topics, always open. I'm always looking for topics. doing a show a week. I mean, I have a long list of topics, but still, you can never have enough topics. I might do, I want to do extra shows as well. So, yeah, so that's the feedback section. Thanks everybody for writing in and being producers and giving me feedback on what I'm doing and giving us interesting things to talk about. And this made the show proper length, I think. I was a bit worried that this was a short episode, but whenever I say that, it's never happening that way. Anyway, let's wrap this show up. Yes, so as you will know, if you listen to the show regularly, this show is produced under the value for value model. If you listen to 71 shows here, you know what that is. But basically, the idea is, get this for free. If you derive any value from it, consider giving something back. There are many ways to do so. I have a Patreon page where you can sign up, and then you can subscribe. Basically, it's like a monthly subscription with really low. It starts at $1 plus tax, whatever that is, where you are. Superuser says, thank you for tearing into the mighty browser. I'm going to sub financially. What's your preferred method? Well, Patreon, I was going to say this is actually, this is good. Patreon is my preferred method because, it's a monthly thing. It's kind of a little bit I can depend on, but, whatever you want to do. You can use PayPal, producers at fab.industries. All these details are in the show notes, privatecitizen.press. And every episode has this toss a coin to your podcast. Right? Stole this from The Witcher because I like it. Anyway, yes, so you can do that, and I appreciate that. But if you don't want to or if you can't, it's totally okay. I'm not repeating this every time to make people give you a bad feeling or make you feel bad about it or whatever. This is just because people come to this every time, and this is their first episode, and they need to know about this kind of thing. This is also why I'm keeping it short. Not Twitch then. Well, you can do Twitch as well. Sorry, I didn't mention that. Of course, I'm live streaming this on Twitch, which means you can subscribe to Twitch. It's the same. It's the same thing. If you have Amazon Prime, then you can subscribe to one Twitch channel for free. You have to redo it every month, but you're basically giving me $5 a month, and you're not paying anything for it. So that's pretty cool. Well, not the whole $5. Twitch takes 20% in my case, because I'm not a partner. But yeah, it's great. That's also amazing. Really, whatever you want to do. I'm happy with everything. What I'm not cutting short, though, is the credits, because I like to give people who do this the credit they deserve. So the people that have kept this afloat through Patreon and PayPal for this episode are Georges, Steve Hose, Butterbeans, Jonathan M. Heathy, Michael Mal Jensen, Dave, Shelby Groover, Vlad, I11G, sorry, that one throws me off every time. Jackie Plage, that's probably why they put that in there. Philipp Klostermann, Jaroslav Lichtblau, Michael Small, IKN, Kai Sears, Fadi Mansour, Bennett Piata, Dirk Didi, Joe Poser, Larry Glock, David Potter, Matt Jelliman, Martin, Mika, Tobias, Mode 7, Dave Amrish, Mr. Amish, Avis, Sandman616, Drive Zero, Ricky M, Barry Williams, Jonathan Edwards, Rizal, Captain Naked, D, Cam, No Reply, RJ Tracy, Robert Forster, Rick Bragg, and Eric Lele. And then, of course, we were just talking about Twitch. My Twitch subscribers, they support this as well. You see some of these names crop up multiple times. They support the show multiple ways. They also send feedback. It's great. So my Twitch subscribers this time are, and they're also keeping the show afloat. Bacon the Pork, I love that name, Bacon the Pork. Brigadier Sir Nils Olaf, Flash Gordo, Mode 7's Unavailable, Mike the Dane, Sandman616, Acherontes, 7, Redeemer F, Harry Vatana, Centurio Apertus, and Galteron. And some of these people stream as well, so check out their channels. I'm also thankful to Bytemark, who are, giving me, they're basically sponsoring the show. Although not this show specifically, ever since Linux Outlaws, they gave me 2 servers to host the audio files on, and I'm doing this. That's where you get the file if you download the podcast, and it's for free. If I had to pay for that, it probably would eat all the money I'm making. Surely would. Or you would get like really shitty downloads, which I also don't want. I want people to get their podcasts if you want them. And Bytemark are great. They're a British cloud hosting company at bytemark.co.uk. These servers have performed an amazing job, probably for about almost 10 years now. So I can't really complain. It's great. Yep. And with that, I'm wrapping it up. I hope I'll be back on Wednesday next week. No more late shows. I'm not planning on that. If it happens, it happens. I'm sorry, but I'm not, I'm aiming for Wednesday again. Anyway, I'm going to play you out with the song, but the intro song was called Acoustic Roots by Raoul Kabazali, and I want to give him credit, but I'm going to play you out now with a song. This is licensed by Epidemic Sound. It's a song called Straight Up Heartbreak by Will Harrison, and it's a bit of a nice little country ditty, because we were talking about country, and I think it's really cool. Until then, I'll see you for the next episode. I hope you learned something today, got some enjoyment out of me ranting, and it's sad, but always remember, Vala Morgulis. And if I don't die, I'll be back with another episode soon. Yeah, it is a nice song. I don't really see the Dire Straits connection, but I listen to so much Mark Knopfler that I hear like two of his. He just plays two notes, and I know it's Mark Knopfler. Hello, Danath. Welcome. Now I can say hello. The podcast is recorded. I have something. This will be maybe interesting to Danath. I'm gonna give you something. Oh, hello, Oliver. Thanks for the raid. This is a bit bad timing because I just finished and the alert is not on. I'm sorry about that. I just finished recording a podcast. This is why all my alerts are muted and everything. Hello. Sadly, I just finished. So I do this normally every Wednesday. I record the Private Citizen. It's like this podcast. Actually, this doesn't show you the URL. If you go to private, can't type. It's the moment where I show you my porn history by accident. You go to privatecitizen.press. This is I'm recording this podcast. Usually on Wednesday. I also play games, but I haven't done that in a while for some reason. I've been really busy lately, but I need to get back to that. I need to start playing Tarkov with Jonathan again. I need to pick up The Witcher 2. Plusmit says, "Oh no, are you also just arrived?" I'm sorry. I wanted to do something though. There is something special. This will be a problem if you only speak English. If you know me, you know I'm German. Hello. I got something for the raiders if they speak German, and for everybody else who's stuck around this long, because I recorded something the other day. So usually I just do podcasts. I never script these. I never do that. They're always like off the cuff. And I tried something new and tried my hand at a little bit of comedy, and I wrote it, and it's in German because people are always like, why don't you just do a German podcast? So I'm gonna play this for you now. I'm recorded this. I'm not sure this will be a podcast. We'll see. I recorded like this one-off thing. It's 15 minutes long. It's all in German. So if you want to leave now because you don't speak German, I completely understand. Usually I stream everything in English all the time. Plus Meet offensichtlich spricht er natürlich Deutsch. Oder sie. Yeah. So if you speak German, this will be a special treat. This might be a podcast in the future. And I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna, obviously, I'm gonna run away while I play it because my wife came home to say hello. But I'll be back in a few minutes. And let's see if you like this. This is audio only. So I don't know what I'm gonna just keep showing you my desktop, I guess. I've been planning to learn German for the last 20 years. Well, you can try now. This will be added difficulty because I don't know if people know. I'm from Duisburg in the Ruhr area, and we have a very special dialect, kind of. And this is how I speak if I'm here where I live, Ruhr area again. And the show is called, if it's ever going to be a show, it's called "Komm mal lecker bei mich bei," which is a very special saying we have in Germany, which means gather around. I'm going to tell you a story. But like you wouldn't, if you speak German, if you learned German, like even if you're not from the area and never heard this, you would like by chaining these words together, you would never understand what that means. Anyway, if you ever want to hear me speak German like I do with my family at home, this is your chance. I'm going to play this for you now, and I'll be back afterwards. I'm going to use the time to talk to my wife. So here's a little special sneak peek at something I might do more of in the future.
Komm mal lecker bei mich bei. Von und mit Fabian A. Scherschel. Heute die Bundeswehr.
gucke ich die Tage so YouTube, ne? Ich gucke da mal so Videospielzeugs. So Videospiele, die du selbst nicht spielen würdest. Da gucke ich dann an bei zu. Ja. Kennt ihr das? So Spiele, die sind so schrecklich, dass du die nie spielen würdest. Aber zugucken geht. So russische Shooter zum Beispiel. Da rennst du dann den ganzen Tag durchs ausgebrannte Wladiwostok, sammelst so alles, was du zum Überleben brauchst, ein. Borscht in Dosen, Wodka, Schraubendreher. Ja, keine Ahnung, wozu die immer die ganzen Schraubendreher brauchen. Kaputte LCD-Displays, egal. Also sammelst du stundenlang alles zusammen. Das ist eigentlich ganz entspannt so. Ne? Alles ruhig, keiner regt sich, hörst stundenlang nix. Aber dann bist du gerade fertig, schleichst dich leise zum Ausgang von einem Level. Plötzlich tot. Kopfschuss. Hast du nicht mal den Knall von einem Scharfschützengewehr gehört, weil der dich voll ins Ohr getroffen hat. Direkt tot. Alles weg. Waffen, Munition, Borscht, Wodka, Schraubendreher. Alles weg. Kannst du wieder von vorne anfangen. Aber nicht sofort. Erstmal musst du eine halbe Stunde warten. Charakter muss sich heilen. Heilen? Was? Ich dachte, der ist tot. Wer spielt sowas? Also ich nicht. Aber Leuten dabei zugucken, wie die stundenlang allen möglichen Scheiß einsammeln, dann zack, Kopfschuss. Das ist schon lustig. Naja, egal. Ich gucke das also. Wie einer so einen russischen Shooter spielt. Plötzlich, zack, Werbung. Von der Bundeswehr. Denke ich erst, macht ja Sinn, ne? Sinnloses Rumgekrieche in der Pampa, Bundeswehr. Macht total Sinn, das Targeting. Aber dann denke ich so, wie jetzt? Die Bundeswehr hat Geld für die YouTube-Werbung? Ich dachte, denen fällt jeder zweite Leopard auseinander, also der Panzer jetzt, weil die kein Geld haben. Ja, die haben noch damals die Schrauben aus Polen gekauft, weil sie kein Geld für die guten Wurzelschrauben hatten. Und jetzt rosten die reihenweise weg und die Ketten fallen von Leoparden ab und nichts geht mehr. Das ist schlimmer als der China-Stahl an meinem T4. Aber das ist jetzt eine ganz andere Geschichte. Aber Geld für die Werbung haben sie, oder was? Ja, nee, ist klar. Ich glaube, das ist wie in jede Firma. Leute entlassen, weil sie angeblich kein Geld haben und die Werbeabteilung fliegt nach Malle und feiert Kokspartys mit den Nutten. Ist klar. Ist bei der Bundeswehr wahrscheinlich ganz genauso. Ich weiß das ja nicht. Ich war nie da. Ich bin ausgemustert. Die haben mich damals wochenlang immer wieder getestet und dann wollten sie mich nicht. Ich denke mal, ich war denen einfach zu schlau. Keine Ahnung. Naja, auf jeden Fall, ich gucke da jetzt diese Werbung von der Bundeswehr auf YouTube. So ganz junge Kerle und Frauen, natürlich, ist ja heutzutage immer so. Egal wie scheiße der Job ist immer wichtig, dass da auch die Mädels sozusagen in vorderster Front mitmachen. Für die PR. Durch den Schlamm kriechen, während einer mit der MG auf dich schießt. Jo, geil, da will ich hin. Da sind so wenige Frauen dabei. Bei der Gemetzel und bei der Getöte und bei der Brandschanzen und bei der Vergewaltigung auch. Da brauchen wir mehr Gleichberechtigung im Krieg. Vor allem im Krieg. Naja, egal. Also, da sind sie jetzt, Jungs und Mädels von der Bundeswehr, und die schieben ihren Leopard durch den Schlamm. Jo. Das war die Werbung. Die waren da mega stolz drauf, dass sie jetzt da ihren Panzer am Umziehen sind. Ich weiß ja nicht, wie so Werbung von der US-Armee auf YouTube so ist. Ich krieg die nie. Aber die schieben da bestimmt keine kaputten Panzer durch die Botanik. Da geht dann eher so: Howdy, son! Willkommen bei the US Army Forces! Komm mal her hier, joinst du die Armee? Ja, ist wie Urlaub, nur mit Knarren. Kriegen ja so dicke Wumme in der Hand, ne? Werden über der afghanischen Wüste abgeworfen. Und dann sitzen die auf so einem Hügel und dann geht das so alles weg. Oder so: Howdy, son! Joins my cool US Air Force. Yes, sir. Here, look. Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor. Stealth Air Superiority Fighter. Push mal den Button da. Alles weggebombt. Dresden 45. In die Wüste. Ja. Meanwhile so, bei der Bundeswehr, die haben den Eurofighter. Ja. Der hieß mal Jäger 90. Könnt ihr euch schon gar nicht mehr dran erinnern, wa? Wieso hieß der so? Ja, der sollte mal 1990 fertig sein. Der ist immer noch nicht fertig. Das Ding kann entweder schießen oder fliegen. Aber nicht beides. Den kannst du also super als so eine fest installierte Geschützlafette einsetzen. Bis die Maschinenkanone heiß läuft. Also so 8 Sekunden. Oder du kannst das Ding astrein als Aufklärungsflugzeug nehmen. Aber wer einer schießt drauf. Oder da ist ein Skilift in der Nähe. Ach nee, das war der Tornado, oder? Naja, also am Ende von der Werbung mit den netten Jungs und Mädels von der Bundeswehr steht dann so: Bundeswehr, bereit, dich zu schützen. Und ich denke so, ja, vor wem denn? Von den Amis? Die sind doch jetzt wieder unsere Freunde, seit der Trump weg ist, oder? Hat Mutti doch gesagt. Die spionieren uns zwar immer noch aus, aber sind unsere Freunde. Ja, nee, ist klar. Vor den Russen? Der Russe an sich ist ja ein netter Mensch. Aber im Keller ist der Russe gefährlich. Wenn der Russe dann doch mal angreift, die sind doch nicht doof und lassen sich dabei erwischen. Ich meine, wie in der Ostukraine vor ein paar Jahren. Die reißen sich einfach die Patches von der Uniform und gut ist. Dann weiß keiner mehr, dass das die Russen sind. Ja, die sagen dann einfach, nee, das wollen wir nicht. Das sind die lokalen Rebellen. Ja, die lokalen Rebellen. Klar, das sieht so aus, als ob die russische Panzer haben und so. Ja, aber das ist alles nur Propaganda von den Amis. Die reden ja auch kein Russisch, ne? Das ist Ostukrainisch. Oder kannst du das auseinanderhalten? Siehst du? Da konnte die NATO nichts machen in der Ostukraine. So machen die das bei uns dann auch, wenn sie wieder über die Ostgrenze nach Berlin marschieren. Ohne Aufnäher an die Jacke, Panzer neu angemalt, mit der Spraydose, alle Bilder von Putin in ein Cockpit überklebt. Was will die Bundeswehr da machen? Bereit, mich zu schützen, ja. Am Arsch. Die machen da gar nichts. Die Russen sagen dann einfach, das sind die ostdeutschen Rebellen, die da durch Brandenburg marschieren. Ist ja auch gar nicht so abwegig. Warst du neulich mal in Brandenburg? So wie das da aussieht, wundert mich das dass da nicht schon die Warlords marodieren wie in Afghanistan. Ja, sagt der Putin dann, niet, das sind wir nicht. Das sind gar keine Russen. Das ist die brandenburgische Volksbefreiungsarmee. Ja, hättet ihr die mal nicht so vernachlässigt, wäre das auch nicht passiert. Na, und recht hat er. So wie die da reden, hast du eh keine Schnitte rauszufinden, ob das nun Russe oder ein Brandenburger ist, der da mit der Kalaschnikow auf dich schießt. Hard Bass hören und Wodka saufen tun die Arbeitslosen da im Osten ja auch. Und Adidas Jogginghosen haben die auch an, ne? Ja. Werbung echt. Alles Verarsche. Bereit zum Schützen. Deppen von der Bundeswehr können ja nicht mal die eigenen Panzer vorm Rost schützen. Geben die ja auch noch selber zu. Deswegen hat die Ursula da ja neulich alles auf Cyber umgemodelt. Ja, weil die Chips, die rosten halt nicht so schnell. Aber da kommst du gegen die Russen halt auch nicht an. Ja, wisst ihr doch. Immer wenn irgendwas gehackt wird, zack, die Russen. Die Russen, das sind so richtige Superhacker. Alle von denen, jeder einzelne Russe. Ne? Vor ein paar Jahren haben die doch da noch den Bundestag gehackt. Könnt ihr euch da noch dran erinnern? Wieder vergessen? Ja, ich war zwar überall in den Medien, ne, dass die da am Bundestag ganze Wochen nicht am Arbeiten waren. Aber bei deren Arbeitstempo merkst du das im Normalfall ja eh nicht. Ja, die Russen, die hacken jetzt alles. Wir machen es dem Russen ja auch einfach. Wir schließen ja auch alles ans Internet an. An die Cloud. Alles. Neulich komme ich bei meinen Eltern rein. Mein Vater, stolz wie Bolle, hat sich ein neues Terranfeld gekauft.
Ich guck, steht da drauf, Wi-Fi. Dicker Sticker, Wi-Fi. Auf dem Ceranfeld. Ja, ich so, wofür brauchst du das denn? Er so, keine Ahnung. Ich so, wie keine Ahnung? Warum hast du das denn dann gekauft? Er so, kriegst ja nicht mehr ohne. Ja, so ist das jetzt. Aber das ist auch eine ganz andere Geschichte, hör mal. Früher musstest du für alles extra bezahlen. Jetzt kriegst du nichts mehr ohne. Besonders ohne Cloud. Versuch mal, irgendwas heute ohne Cloud zu kriegen. Ceranfeld, Kühlschrank, Klodeckel. Ist alles immer mit Cloud. Tja, kein Wunder, dass der Russe da immer sofort alles hacken kann. Also ich denk mir ja, dann schließ den Scheiß doch nicht an eine Cloud an, Mann. Wenn er das Wasserwerk an eine Cloud anschließt, weil er zu faul bis hinzufahren, wenn er kaputt ist, ja, dann kann sich halt auch der Russe da leicht reinhacken. Und dann dreht er dir die Bude halt an den Feiertage ab. Und dann ist nichts mehr mit heißem Wasser. So geht Krieg heute. Da muss die Bundeswehr erstmal hinterher. Danke fürs Zuhören. Mehr Folgen gibt's auf lecker.show.
Ja, gibt's jetzt noch nicht, aber vielleicht in Zukunft, wenn Leuten das gefällt. Yeah, if people like that, I'm gonna make more of those. Switching back to English here. Anyway, hope you did like it. Right, I'm gonna stop streaming now. I really like that song. I'm gonna stop streaming now and edit this podcast and get it out so that is not also a day late. We don't want that. But I'm gonna, having had a raid. Thanks again, Oliver, by the way. I'm gonna hand this raid on now to. What am I doing with this window? Fadi, thank you. Thanks for hanging in there and trying to learn German. See you next week. Definitely on Wednesday I'll be recording another Private Citizen. I'll try to get some streaming schedule up before then. fab.industry/stream. Can't promise, but I'll try. God, Halifa has a new icon. That's amazing. That is so much. Anyway, let's rate Halifa because Halifa is amazing and she's playing some retro game, isn't that? Oh yeah, she's playing Torrent's Passage.
Okay, this is
parents
a
and a
straight
princess
angle.
with a lot of
That makes
personality
sense.
from the
I
evil
just
witch.
can't figure out which direction they go
Okay.
in.
Anyway, let's rate Halifa. I really like her. I'm gonna. Yes, she is. Let's rate. I'm gonna do that now. Just hold your horses there. Now I need to type this correctly. Yeah, and I'm hopefully gonna see you soon. I'm gonna try to do something before Wednesday, but as I said, I can't promise. Anyway, thanks for being here with me. I appreciate it a lot, and hopefully see you soon.